Alright, in this video, let's drop down this piece here. We're going to look at the creation of the piece that will actually act as kind of the skiffs for the landing gear. And it's 6 across here, has a plug on either end that hooks onto, and then arches and raises up in the middle. There are 4 of these pegs right here. So we'll start by kind of getting our pegs in place and all the materials that will kind of stick up on top of it, and then we'll stick them together with the kind of the piping that runs around through there. So I'm going to start here by gathering together these pieces because these we're going to need. So I'm going to copy that and paste it into a new layer. And actually here, let's do this. I'm going to move these down 3.2 millimeters. So they're sitting on the ground plane. And then I'm going to go back over to this layer too and drag it down 3.2 millimeters as well so that it'll be sitting underneath. There we go. So let's go back to our other view here. Okay, so these ones here on the ends, oops, make sure I'm in the right layer. There we go. These ones here on the ends actually will just be this size, a little taller. They're the height of a full piece, so it will go up to 3.2 millimeters, but then it's just round around it, and then obviously the inside will be pretty much like this. So I'm still in symmetry mode, so from the last piece that I worked on, let me go over to my model view. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to start by thickening this. So let's unsubdivide to do this so that we can keep our bearings. And I want to thicken this not quite all the way, but it will actually kind of split the difference between the outer wall and the inner wall of the piece underneath. So I'm going to get a good look at this on my top view in order to get this scaled correctly. So let's go ahead and run our thicken tool. I'm just going to drag that out, and you see it's going to taper the top side, but that's all right. We'll fix that in a minute here. All right. So something like that. We'll go up to 1.2, give it a relatively even scale here. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this top piece and I'm going to shift up arrow until I get to those. And we can just use this viewport now. And I'm going to scale again, and I'm going to use an element action center. Just click on the top middle of this and pull it down flat. And now the cool thing is that we still have an inner piece here, which is kind of what we'll need to get started building the piping up around this. It's a little bit too thick at this point. It will need to come in a little bit, but I can just take this edge here and delete it because we're not going to need that. And now we can just take this part and let's check our scale on this. It should be the same here. This one shouldn't have scaled down. 4.4 millimeters. Here, let me turn off my symmetry and stuff like this. Okay, we're at 4.4 millimeters, so that's not going to be the same as, as this. Or actually, yeah, let's see. Yeah, looks like we've come off our scale a little bit here. So let me go to my top view and we'll see what it is that we're looking at. And here, let's subdivide that and see. Yeah, 4.4, obviously not what we're looking for. I want this to be 4.8 actually. I want the interior to be 4.8 too, so that's kind of important. So I'm going to grab this interior here. Let's go. I need to be able to scale this, so let's do this. Let's unsubdivide here. Let's subdivide first. Get rid of this inner edge here and delete that. And now we'll go back and we'll unsubdivide. And let's get that section there. Okay, and let's see, we want to get this scaled properly before we go on. It's going to be important to see the underlying piece there. Let me turn off my turn off my dimensions tool there because it's just going to get in the way at this point. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to switch over to this one here quickly so I can read. Okay, there's the rim of that one. Actually, looks like we're probably right on it. But the difference is that we're having more sub-D pulling going on here with this being the way that it is. So what I'm going to do is switch to polygon mode, and let's run our loop slices through here. So 2 in symmetry is right. And then let's just grab this guy and bevel it in. Probably 100 UM, we'll go with that one that we've been using. I can also run a couple of loop slices around there. Set those to 2%. Run through here. Actually, it's going to get us one extra one. Oops. I'll take that and delete that inner one there. And then we're going to need to delete one here in a second anyway, so I'll just delete it now. Alright, so, oops. Keep that at 2%. Okay, so there we have kind of the foundation. It looks like it's going to be super, super tight. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to grab this part, and I'm going to scale it up just a tiny bit. Let's go to our automatic action center. And scale it up just a tiny bit to make sure that we get some, that we get everything to fit together nicely. And then we'll have this part here that will bevel up. And yeah, so that'll do it. Notice that I am off on my symmetry now, so I'm going to go ahead and cut that out. I'll take this and I'm going to mirror it across the X so that we have that part ready. Okay, so now we're ready for these pieces here. And these pieces are kind of interesting because height-wise, the bottom of them is a full 2 units, so 6.4 millimeters up off the ground. Let's turn our symmetry back on. So what I need to do first is grab them and just move them up 6.4 millimeters. And the height of these right now, if I look, is going to be 1.8 millimeters, or excuse me, 1.6 millimeters, and the height of the actual pieces is 1.6 plus 3.2 because it's the height of a full unit and the little bump on top there. So what I'm going to do is go in here and go to, I prefer to work in vertices for this kind of thing, so I'm just going to grab these. I'm going to drag this whole thing up 3.2 millimeters. There we go. Okay, that'll work. And then I'm just going to get this part here, drop in a poly. Same thing here, drop in a poly. I'm going to grab these, bevel in 100 UM, and that part will be ready. Okay. What we need to do here on the top, though, is we need to bevel this whole thing in. We've already gone in 100 UM, so I'm going to go in another 6, and then in another 100. That'll put us 0.8 millimeters in, and then I'm just going to bevel this down, and there's really not much way of judging depth, so I'm going to go down 3.2 millimeters. And that will leave me at least something there at the bottom. Oops, do it on these two, run my loop slices, and in this inside here I'll bevel in 100 UM. So what I want to do also here is I'm going to get these, and I'm just going to shift up arrow my way all the way up to here, go to my UV. That's probably going to have built some extra UVs on here on my bump, which I don't want, so I'm just going to go ahead and edit and delete the UVs on that. Okay, so now we have now we have the geometry that we need as the basis here, but what we'll want to do is attach some of the tubing here that will run from here. We'll run out a little bit, and then we'll arc straight down and into this. Okay, so we'll use our bridge tool, and we're also going to just place some pieces here before we do that. So what I want to do actually is I want to remove all of these here, these bottom base parts. I'm just going to leave those out, and then I'm going to take these here. I'm going to run a single loop slice, And I want this one to be, it's kind of most of the way up here. I want to leave myself that 1.8 millimeters on top, so I'll go ahead and grab that and have a look here. Let's see here, so not quite there. Let's just drag it down a little bit. We'll check. That's giving me a little bit of extra room, which is actually fine. It's kind of what I want, because I don't want these things to be too far off of my normal size of these. Now I'm going to go in here to the side view. Oops, there's a side view. And I'm going to draw out a cylinder that we'll use as the base here. So I'm going to take this and draw out something. This needs to be, let me get my mind right here. It needs to be 3.2 on the width. So I'm going to plot to 1.6 on height and width here. And then I'm going to make sure that my sides are set to 12. And we're just going to move it up so that the center should fall at, let's see, 6.4 plus 1.6, so 8 millimeters. So that's right at the spot there where it needs to be. And let's just drag this down where it's just beyond our piece here. Okay, drop my tool. Let me flip this around so it's facing us here. And we'll go ahead and apply our base gray material on it. Now that's built a UV for that, so I'm just going to copy and paste this a bunch, so I'm going to go ahead and remove that now. So let's just delete that UV. Okay, so now what we need is we need geometry for this attach to. And in order to get that, I'm going to need 3 subdivisions running radially around each of these. So it will give me 3 across the top, 3 on each side, and then 3 on the bottom that we'll bridge to. So I'm going to go ahead and run my loop slice, count to 2, and just drop in uniform ones there. So I'll grab this, and I'm actually going to copy this. Just got the feeling I'm going to need it here in a second. So let's go ahead and for snapping, I'm going to turn on geometry snap constrain to background. Make sure that geometry constraint is switched to vector, and then I'm just going to use the, oops, sorry, I actually got to cut this out and put it in a new mesh layer. Don't know what I'm thinking. There we go. Now as I draw that back, it's going to constrain itself to that. Now don't worry that it's going to mess with the, oops, actually, sorry. This doesn't look like it's perfectly centered, so I'm going to center select it on the Z real quick here. It looks like it actually is. Okay. Well, here, let's turn off, sorry, let me turn off my snapping and try that again. Yeah, looks like we are. Okay. All right, so let's turn our snapping back on, geometry constrained to background, and I'm just going to pull that back until it snaps on there. It's going to deform the face, but that's fine. We're not looking for the face to be right. We're looking for the polys themselves to be right. And sorry, I get ahead of myself one more time. I need to rotate this around 15 degrees so that we have polys on the bottom instead of points. Now we'll move this back. Let's make sure I get it all the way back there. Okay. So now that I've got this here, let's switch back over to this mesh layer. And on each side here, I'm going to prep a slot for these. So I'm going to select just the middle polygon, or what will be the middle polygon, shift up arrow, and cut all of that out. And now we're going to go back to this layer here. And before I even, oops, well, cleared out my buffer. Nice. That's all right. So let me take this piece here and cut it out. And I'll paste it in here, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy, paste, and move. Actually, now I take that back. We got a bunch of these to do, so instead of that, let's back up, paste it in there. Instead of that, what I'm going to do is, let's go to my top view here, and I'm going to run duplicate, clone, and I'm just going to drag this out 8 millimeters. And I'm going to set my number of clones up to 3. Okay, so that's giving me all those. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all those, Shift V for my mirror tool, and I'll click Apply, and now it will mirror across all of them. So I'm just going to select all these and make sure that I have the proper material applied to them, which now I do. And now I'm going to go ahead and bridge these together. You notice I've kept this really, really low down close to this bottom edge, which is really just what I want, because I want this to almost meld with the bottom edge there to get really close to it. So let's go ahead and select this edge and bridge. I'm just going to do this all the way along. So this edge, bridge. I'll flip around to the other side of this edge, and we'll bridge. And this edge, and we'll bridge. So now what I have is a perfect circular hole in that piece. So let's go in here and let's build in what we need to attach to it. Actually, sorry, you don't even have to do that at first. What I can do is I can keep using my bridge tool here. I can select this one and this one, bridge, and click. It's going to look kind of lumpy at first. That's all right. Let's see. Let's turn off my symmetry for a minute, and we'll run bridge. And then I'm going to get this guy, and this guy, and run 2 loop slices. Oops, set those to symmetry. And just drag those on out. I'm going to keep those really nice and tight. So I've got those attached really nicely. And what I'm left with here is I need to build one that comes from here up and over, and obviously the mirrored one on the other side. So let's go over to our cylinder tool, which still has our settings in it. And I'm just going to go straight away and click Apply. And I'll flip that, put my material on it, because I'm going to need that in a second here. Oops, make sure I delete it from my UV. And let's go back here. Okay, so what I'm looking for is I want a nice rounded angle here, and I'm not going to be able to get that just by guessing or actually even measuring for the most part, except I do know that the break here on this one runs directly in between the actual seams here. So if I do a little measuring, I know that this is going to be 16 millimeters out this way. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to cut that out and run the cylinder tool again here. You can see I've got this set to negative 14.7. I'm just going to put it at negative 16 millimeters and click Apply. Then I know this is going to be right in between these two pieces, and that's where my break point should be for this. So I'm going to flip it, apply my material, again go and delete my UV for it. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and Shift V, mirror that over, and then I can turn my symmetry back on, and I can work the rest of this symmetrically. Okay, so here's this one, and what I'm going to do is copy, paste, move. I'm going to drag it over 4 millimeters. I'm just going to put it right in the center of the piece here. At least it should. Looks like it. And then I'm going to rotate it so it's flat. And then I'm going to move it again. Move it down so it's right in the center of there. Which I may not have an exact, actually I probably should have an exact. So let's just grab this here. And what I want to do here, let me unsubdivide for a second. Oops, sorry, let's just get rid of this guy first. Let's unsubdivide, and I'm going to grab the tops of these here in vertex mode. And as I had thickened these, I didn't pay much attention to the height here, so I want to make sure that these are in the right position. So again, I'm going to go to vertex, set position. I'm going to set my position to 3.2 millimeters on the Y and click OK. See, that actually drug it up quite a bit. And another thing that I can notice, if I look at trying to find where this one breaks, it looks like it really doesn't go up at all before it starts to break. So I'm going to go ahead and take this middle polygon here and cut it out. And then I'm going to take this guy and drag it down That should be a nice even measurement now. It should be like 4.8 or something like that. Yep, 4.8. That did it. And now I'm just going to bridge this together with this. Oops, bridge. Now we can see we have that little bit of rotation, which we want to remove because we removed it on our end piece there. We'll need to remove it on this piece up here as well. So let's go ahead and rotate, and just holding down Control to snap that. And same thing here, rotate. Notice how hold down Control to snap it one segment there. So I'm going to grab this piece and this piece, and I'm going to run bridge, and I'm going to set my segments to 2. What I'm looking for here is a nice arc shape, and I'm not going to get it directly out of the tool, which is fine. But if I create it here with this one single edge in the middle, that will give me control over the shape, so I can drag that out and fix that in a minute. Now on this endpoint here, I'm left with an edge and then a polygon, so I have to cut out this polygon, and then I'm going to attach this part to this part with the bridge tool. Oops, and I'll turn my segments back down. And you can see we're actually kind of starting to get here. I'm going to grab this edge here, and I'm going to use the move tool, but I'm going to set this to a selection action center, and I can just slide it out. That way now I'm going to be I'm moving along it here. Let's unsubdivide this and see what we've got here. What I might want to do is add in an extra edge here, and I'm going to do that with an edge bevel. Make sure I'm set down to 0, and I'm just going to pull out a little bit. It's going to be a serious case of cleanup on my UV, but that's all right. Just have some stuff I need to delete. So let's check that there. And again, what we're looking for is that nice rounded angle, and we're not really getting it. And I think one of the reasons that we're not getting it is we didn't actually give ourselves enough to work with here. So I'm going to cut this out, cut this out. I'm going to grab this edge here, this entire edge loop, and I'm going to edge extend this up just a little bit because I don't have any buffer for myself here. So I'm going to extend this up. Just go up 0.8 millimeters. It's kind of the smallest little unit that we get. The other thing is I don't have any protection for this edge along here, so I'm just going to, let me subdivide, it'll be easier to grab these. Just going to grab all of these, delete them. And now I'm going to grab these here. I'm going to set those in. That will give me something a lot better to work with. And I'm going to do the same thing here. Okay. Alright, so now we're going to try this again here. I'm actually going to add in those loop slices here because it will give me a better gauge of the form if I'm going from a relatively fixed position to another one. Let's go ahead and bridge those two. Oops. Our segments up to 2. You can just grab this guy and move it out. And you can see actually no matter what we do here, we're getting some pinching on that. And that's an important thing to note is that sometimes the bridge tool will end up kind of flattening some of your geometry. So I'm going to back up here. Let's undo that. And I'm going to take one of these here and put a polygon in there. I'm just going to cut, there we go, and paste the polygon. And then what I want to do is I want to move this polygon out over the area here, and then I'm going to rotate it, and that will give me a little bit more of a guide. And then if I need to, I can bevel that edge. So let's go ahead and move this out 4 millimeters. Put it right in the heart of that one. And then I'm going to get my rotate tool. Oops, let's set ourselves back to an automatic action center. I'm going to rotate this just down 45 degrees. Okay. only problem is that then we're getting difference in our height. And that's okay because we can take this now and scale it up. You can actually see those grid units. You can see when it's going to align to those. And let's pull out this way. Get it to align to those. We're going to with a little bit of an elongated shape here as we go around, but that will be okay. So let's get this part and this part. Bridge. And we can cut this guy out. So get this part. And this part. And bridge them again. And now to soften this effect a little bit, which is what we'll want to do, so we'll just take this and bevel this out. Oops. Oh, sorry, take it back. That's it's actually getting it a bit too tall there, so we can scale it once we're here. Just change this to selection, action center, and we'll just scale it back down. And we'll probably move it a little bit too. And that's going to give us a nice control over the curve too. And we want to go in and remove some of these extra edges here. This one I don't want to remove. And same thing here, I'll remove that one. We'll kind of let my surface flow a little bit more. Yeah, using the bridge tool directly in this situation is usually going to result in just kind of more of a headache than it's worth. So I want to find ways around just using the tool as is. So let me go here real quickly onto the bottoms of these. I'm going to make one extra bevel in on these so that they get solid without having to run an extra loop around the bottom of this, which would just soften up or excuse me, would sharpen up these edges right through there. So if I run this here, it's going to run all the way through, which is not what we want. All right, so there we have that one. We'll be ready to go underneath our helicopter. I'll make one last little tweak here. Sometimes it's easier once you pull out a little bit to look at it. There we go. Over that little elbow macaroni kind of shape. All right, there you go. Go ahead, switch to item mode, select our item, and we'll save our preset. And call this, man, I have no idea what to call this. Let's call it skiff. Sure. Drop it in there, check our layout, make sure it's there. And there it is. Alrighty guys, see you in the next video.